So really treat this guy with a huge, warm round of applause, please, for Phil Ash! Hi, Phil.
Thanks, George. Thank you. Hey, thank you very much for coming, everyone. So, the course is called the Hyper HMO course. It's about getting cash flow with cash back, as the name suggests. So, who wants more? Everyone, right? More time, more money. It's a commodity, isn't it, right? Most important of all, time, right? But so HMOs broadly, right, gives you cash flow. And so this is a major benefit of the system. But in a standard letting sense, okay, you get cash flow, right? But the aim of the game is to make the best return on your time. So you want the most cash flow in the shortest amount of time of your personal time invested, right? So this is how Hyper HMOs and HMOs in general benefit you. And also then there's the process of systemization. So in systemizing things, you also reduce the amount of time it takes for you to do things. So again, you save time, maximize cash flow. So those are the two key benefits and components to this. Thank you very much for coming, by the way, I should say, for taking your time out to come and listen to me waffle for half an hour. And thank you for the guys that let me stand on this stage. So just some background about me. I've got a £1.5 million property portfolio now. I ran a property management company. It took about a year. We got about 35 units. I've seen a lot of bad things in the property space, and I've seen a lot of good things. So there's quite a spectrum now. I've got quite some good experience through other people's errors through the property management side of things. But you know, you sort of think £1.5 million. Okay, in London that's not such a big deal. But you know, there's nothing special about getting there. You know, there's nothing special about what I've done really per se. It's just the process that I've followed and the system that's been developed to get to that place. So who's this for, right? Well, I mean, it's just people need time, people need money. So it's for anyone that wants more time and more money, basically. And it's not for people that got a shit ton of money and bags of time. Maybe it's for them as well if they want more and more. So what is a Hyper HMO? Well, let me start with what is a HMO. So HMO, as I think George already alluded to earlier, is a house of multiple occupation, which is effectively a higher cash flowing strategy for tenanting your property, effectively. So rather than having a single family or a single person in your property that gives you sort of a lower return per room, you have multiple people, one in each room, and then it cash flows at a better rate, effectively. So, I mean, that on its own is pretty good, right? And I imagine that most people these days will be going down that route. But a Hyper HMO is where you take potentially, or it can be a HMO in existence, but it's typically a sort of normal standard stock property like 3-bed house, run-of-the-mill, and you develop the property into a HMO style build effectively. And also you can like go to light speed in it. So, and also you get cash back on completion. So the part of the process in this, the cashback part, is where you effectively develop something. You spend like, say, for example, 35 grand, and then it adds, say, 100 grand to the value of the property, and then you refinance it and take some of the cash out. So that's how that works. And then also the model itself is repeatable. So the idea is that you've got a lot of stock, because this is standard. It's not like I've got to find HMOs of which, you know, build HMOs. There's not so many, you know, standard HMOs out there, as relative speaking. Whereas stock 3-bed properties, there's like, you know, they're all over the country, right? There's hundreds of them. So it's repeatable, it's very repeatable, and there's less, the market's bigger in terms of stock. It's also a good thing to be systemizable. This is very systemizable because fortunately the time you put into it is relatively low compared to some of the strategies, but if you systemize it, it can be next to nothing. In fact, in my case, I don't do anything. Pretty much nothing now. I literally outsourced everything. And then basically, yeah. So actually, there's a key point in this. The key point is you've got to know when you need to put your time into it. So once you've isolated what the high value things are that you need to spend your time on, once you know what that is, then you spend your time only on those things and make sure you do those things, because some things you don't really want to hand over to somebody else. One being potentially finding tenants, depending on what you're doing, but I can go on to that in a bit. So why a key question, as I think everyone's sort of covered, but why even get out of bed, right? Why do anything? I mean, the thing is, if you're going to be doing something slightly different from the norm, if you're looking to sort of get out of, maybe you're looking to get out of the rat race or whatever, as soon as you start to move away from what everyone else is doing, then you're on your own, right? Unless you come into like these inner circles or groups, you're on your own. So as soon as you hit a hurdle, who's there to help you, right? So you've got to have a why. You must have a reason. If you don't have a burning reason, when you hit that first obstacle, you're going to just fail, or you're just going to quit and, I've had enough, I've stopped, paused or whatever. You can't afford to have that. You've got to have your why, and you've got to have it, rehearse it every morning, get up, realise what the hell you're doing it for. Because trust me, that is like the most important thing. Plus you'll be doing that, like, that's what you should do every morning with a cat. So does anyone want to share why they're like doing what they're particularly, has anyone got a good why in the audience, maybe? Anybody? Yeah, go on, Helen.
Yeah, my big why is so that I can start earning enough so my husband can give up work.
That's a great why. Anybody else? Whys? See, you guys really need to get your why sorted, right? You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, it's the key of like, all this stuff.
That's why we're listening to you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe you just want freedom. Maybe you just want more money. There's a million whys, but you've got to know what it is and make sure that you. And when someone says to you, "What the hell are you doing this for?" You want to be able to answer that pretty quick, right? Because when you hit those obstacles, you don't know what it is. So, how, right? How do you go about this? How do you get hyper HMOs, not box standard HMOs? Yeah, I'm talking about that. Hyper HMOs, right? How do you get them? So, first off, you need some stock abundance, right? Because if you're like me and you want to be systemizing, you want to be like turning over quick and quick, you don't want to just be like, oh, it takes me 6 months. I found my HMO, it's awesome, cash flow's 1,000. It takes you 6 months to find it. It's going to take you, some amount of time, right? And if you're like me and you're working, you're spending like 7-8 hours a day working, you've got other businesses and things, you don't have that much time to spend all day sourcing things, right? So a major benefit of this is that you can literally look at stock property. There's masses of stock property, and then you've just got to do one process. In fact, what I do is I look at former council estates, let's say, and I'll go, right, okay, there's, I don't know, say 40,000 properties in this particular area where it's largely the same sort of stock. And I'll go, right, okay, these ones look like they're good for a permitted development or some sort of development function on it. And I'll take that area and I'll make it my sort of, my area for buying properties effectively. So you need to look for stock abundance wherever it is, which isn't difficult, it's actually pretty easy with this model. Then what you need to do, work out what you're going to do with the property. So PD I've mentioned, effectively it's a gift, PD is. It's like, before it used to be, okay, you've got to go through the planning process, and even that's not so bad, right? You can't knock, okay, I'm going to make money, it's going to take you slightly longer, right? But now it's like you don't have to wait anymore. People are basically giving you the government said like, right, you get these permitted development rights, and you can just like put an extension on there, whack 2 more rooms on there. It's just money in the bank, as quick as you can get the form submitted or whatever. So, it's amazing. And then you need to start, a key component to this is start finding a good builder, whether that's with someone who's worked with a builder already. I wouldn't go, there's My Builder and things like that, you can try those out, and they can be okay, but I personally would go with someone who's worked with a builder in a local area and has recommended them. So once you've got that person, that's a key person to the team, right, because you need those up front. You can double up by applying for planning. So you get the PD, you've done your, potentially your refinancing, but then you can double up again by applying for planning, let's say, if the site's good enough. So you can do like a double story on the side or something, the extension potential is good as long as you configure the property right. And the other key component is the refinancing part. So let's say you've got a 3-bed property, and it's like 300 grand, for example. You need to find the comparables. Let's say you're going to make it into a 6-bed, right? There's no good making it into a 6-bed if the 5 beds in the area are like 320 or something, right? So you need to find, that's another key component. You've got to find a place where the values are relative. There's enough meat in it when you make it a 5-bed for you to basically up the value. Let's say it goes up to like 500k with the 5-bed, for example. So that's a key component to it. And then another key thing, the benefit of this also is that basically you've got the opportunity to do some work in terms of like designing it right, because with a lot of these HMOs, people tend to do, they just pack people in, right? That's a standard HMO model. So people like, they're looking, oh, that's a rentable room, that's a rentable room, that's a rentable room, but it doesn't make it necessarily a good place to live. Your tenant turnover is high. It's not optimally configured for HMO. So this is the opportunity to make it comfortable, right? And it's not so much work when you're developing it, it's easy. Whereas if you've got a place that you bought as a HMO, it's much more difficult. So, refinancing, getting your cash flow, as I mentioned, the key component. You've developed it, and now you've got to get your cash back out. And usually, if you do it right, you can take out some cash, as well as obviously adding the value. You can take some cash out straight away. So, and the other upside is you can potentially make it even an SA house. You don't have to do standard ASTs in it. You can still follow John's model within the house and put SAs in there. So that is like mega cash flow. So this is just an example of one of the ones I did. This is in Surrey. So we bought this place. It was 300k we bought it for, and it was cash flowing. It was cool. It was all right, it was in Surrey, so like cash flows relatively well. We had like professional people in there. It was doing like 1,350 a month, but it was a standard. This was on a council area where I was talking about a minute ago. So it was a standard 3-bed. I could find a better photo, to be honest, but anyway, you get the idea. Standard 3-bed, one bathroom, and a single kitchen in it. So it was kind of, family house, right? What's that?
Nice ladders.
Nice ladders, yeah, exactly. That was me checking the roof out. Sorry, got a question, George?
Yeah, what do you mean by cash flow? Is that like net profit, or is that rent?
No, that's the rent roll, yeah. So, yeah. So we got, from the tenants, we grossed 1,350 a month, basically. So that's how it was basically before we did any work on it. This is just what we started. So basically what we ended up doing with this place was the garage, as you can see on this shot. So there's basically a garage here, which was, I could have just developed that and converted that into a room. That would have been super cheap. And that would have been an extra, like, say, 600 quid a month here. But we didn't, because I thought, well, because at that particular time there was like a PD, and it wasn't so easy or good, and I couldn't do PD in this particular situation anyway. But I thought, okay, why not put a second story on top of it? So we got steels in and basically did minimal work. So it cost us about 35k. That's the garage as it was being done. This was a downstairs bathroom, which was just basically not used because it wasn't in the best shape. And then that's what it ended up like. Basically, that's the inside of the garage, and that's the shower room that we put in downstairs. So then it turned it into basically that. That's like, I could do with a later photo, to be honest. But it ended up being, so it went from 300 to 400k basically, and we changed it to 5 beds. This is one of the first ones we did, so I was a bit like I was like, let's throw shower rooms in it and double the kitchens up and stuff. But it works really well because it's, I think average tenant in that place is like, one lady's been there now for 3.5 years, and I forget the last time I actually got someone in for there because they're all kind of like, this is the best, right? It's because it's so easy. They don't have to worry about, oh, I can't get a shower, I can't get kitchen. Those are the things that you got to care about when you're doing HMOs, right? And then it grosses like 2,600 now. So obviously, and I took out about 60k or something, I think, from that. So that was pretty good. And then this was another example. Yeah, but it cost. Yeah, I mean, it was good because in certain areas the build costs relative to the money you take out is a lot better, right? Sorry, Felix. No, you go for it. Ask something if you want.
What about the net on that though? I mean, net
Yeah, I'll come back to you with the net figures if you want, because it's not in my head. But yeah, I'll give you the sheet with all the stuff if you want. But this is just for example's sake, really, to show you how I've done a couple. But so this is a London place. I bought it for $390. It cost like $32K to do what I did. It was 4 bedrooms already. This place is actually quite good. It was quite a nice place, and it was renting about $2K. So it was quite good already. It looks nice, right, from the outside. It looks like a nice place. So that was the back of the property. Bog standard, right? It's not really much to it, but it looks. You can see the standard's quite nice in there. So I had to maintain that standard, but that's okay, right? It's easier to maintain it. If you want to bring it up to a standard, it costs you a lot of money, but that was already quite high. So this is just me dicking around. That's just it going up. That's deals going in. Yeah. So basically, we did a single story. This wasn't under PD, unfortunately, because this was already developed out to the side, so I couldn't do PD on this. But this could be a PD. If this was already as it was, then this would be a good example of PD. Except with PD, you could potentially go out 6 meters instead of 3, which is what that is. But then, anyway, you get the idea. So, yeah, this is just them knocking it up. And then, yeah, that's how it ended up. So basically, it ended up being valued at $525, and then it's 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and it grosses. That's what it grosses roughly. But I'm sort of testing out a little bit of SA from John, so it does a bit more than that now. But yeah, I have to change it because in London's a whole different set of rules. But so how did I get there anyway? Well, basically I wanted more, right? I've done loads of things in the past. I've started businesses. I've invested in stocks and shares. I'll tell you a story about my stocks and shares, in fact. I've related back to property. So this is about how long ago now? Maybe 10 years ago. So like 10 years ago, I was working in trading. Where I work now, I work in trading technology, right? And I was working for a trading technology software company. So 10 years ago, it was all right. But I'm like, I'm not going to get a freaking Ferrari. I'm not going to do all these awesome things and get my freedom by sitting and doing this job forever. So I wanted more, right? So I knew about investing because I'm sitting in trading technology. I'm like watching all these other people trade using our systems, right? So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to get into some trading stuff. And I did some trading, did quite well actually. And then I started trading CFDs, which I don't know if anyone knows what CFDs are, but I'll quickly explain. CFDs is basically like trading stocks, equity stocks, but it's like leveraged. So CFDs is like the stock equivalent of property, right? So with property, you put in £10,000 down deposit, right, and you get exposed to the upside or downside of like growth potentially, right? Which is the same with CFDs. So in CFDs, you put in like, let's say £10,000 worth to buy Lloyd's, like a CFD of Lloyd's, and then you end up getting exposed to £100,000 worth of Lloyd's stock, right? So which is good, right? Because you're like, okay, if Lloyd's is going up, happy days. But if Lloyd's goes down, then you can equally be, in the downside, right? So, so going back 10 years now, so I was trading some CFDs, and I'm sure you're aware of like psychology and gambling psychology and the implications of that when you're investing, right? So I was like, I made sort of $7,000 or something trading stocks. And with CFDs, I'm like, wow, I'm going to like kill it, right? I'm going to be out of my job in like flipping 3 months, right? So, and my personality is quite all out, go for it, right? That's it, I'm committed, I'm going for it. And, that works in some areas and it doesn't work in others, right? So I'm buying I'm buying CFDs. And to be fair, I was initially doing pretty well, right? I did 20 grand in a day once profit, right? And I was like, yeah, well, the first time I made £1,000 in a day, bear in mind, I'm earning around 30, 35, 40K at the time, I think. So I'm like, I just made like nearly like 3/4 of my salary in a day, right? And, that was like, you can imagine the psychology going mental at this point, right? So I'm like, I'm hooked, right? I'm spending every hour of the day on this. right? Not joking. I was up till 2 in the morning doing it, right? And my balance was something like, I don't know, I think it was about 60k or something. Because it's obviously you've got up, down like this, right? And the market was doing, this particular time, it was doing that. So it was easy, you know, you could make money. As long as you sort of weren't completely stupid, you could make money. So it was good, right? And I was like, yes, I was getting really crazy, right? And but one evening I was up till 2, and I'd been trading like, spending all my day, hours on the phone on it, you know, looking at work, whatever. And it was just, I was a bit knackered. It was 2 in the morning, and I put a trade in, and that was it. I went to bed, right? Thought nothing about it. And then in the morning, I'm like looking at my, I look at the screen because I'm getting up at 5 in the blinking morning as well. And because, you know, the markets are opening, right? So I'm like getting my stuff ready. So, you know, it's 5 in the morning. I look at the screen, and like there's this red number flashing on the screen. I'm like, what the f? I'm like, don't understand, what's this red number? I was, because I'm knackered, right? But I'm like, I'm not really understanding what it is. I'm like, I must have logged into a test account or something. You know, what's going on with this? And then I had this sickening feeling, right? And I was like, okay, you know, this red number doesn't look good, right? So what had basically happened was, instead of putting £100,000 down on FTSE, a FTSE CFD, I put £1 million down. Yeah, because you laugh, right? But I tell you what, I was not fucking laughing at the time. But I tell you what, it was the exact opposite of laughing. The exact opposite of laughing. That cost me 5 years, that did. No joke. But anyway, so yeah, as you can, I don't need to tell the rest in detail, but the point is, I had to exit the position very quickly, right? And that is never a good thing, right? Because when you exit a position quickly, you dump in stock, and then basically the brokers just take you to the cleaners. And so, but I had to exit because if it had gone 1% the other way, my debt figure would have been like massive, right? If the market had opened 2% down or something, I'd have been like, you know, I was already, in the end of it, I ended up 60k in red, right? So instead of being like 50 or whatever, I was up 60k in red, I ended up being. So yeah, that totally transformed my life, basically. But the long and short of that, the reason I tell that story is because it was a monumental disaster. No shit, that changed my life, right? And but what it taught me was, so I had to sell I lost my girlfriend, lost everything in my life pretty much, all the shit I loved, fuck it, gone. And but the reason I say it is because like I had to sell my property to 2 of my mates, right? And luckily, I was able to buy so when I paid my debt back, it took me 5 years in the city, I grafted my ass off, that was the only thing I knew how to do. Paid my debt back, and then I bought my property back off these 2 guys. And in that time, the property, like, me and my mate was like, look, you can buy it back or whatever. So within that time, I'd done nothing, right? And after I think another 6 months or something, the property had gone up by like sort of 50, 60k or something. And I'm like, I didn't do jack to get that 50, 60k, nothing. You know, in relative terms, right, I'm spending like 10 minutes, right, maybe like on an evening sorting things out, 10 minutes of my time, or maybe even less, you know, right? Whereas I was spending like hours every freaking day doing that trading thing, hours, and I ended up net down 60k. You know what I mean? It's just like, so that's why I say that. But, and ultimately that was the first project. That one I bought back was the one I first did. So yeah, I realised the incredible potential that property had versus like stock, right? Because, you know, property trends are like much lower risk, right? And the upside is pretty damn similar. So yeah, it's the way forward. So, you know, if you're not already involved, get involved. Scaling it up as well. It's easy to scale it up. It's not simple. It's not so complicated that you have to like build some crazy technical analysis system. You know, I had like spreadsheets and spreadsheets for doing that. And in property terms, you know, relatively, it's not so complex. You can scale it up with relative ease. Yeah, and you build it, you develop it, release the equity, and repeat, and keep doing it basically until you've made your whatever you want to make. So anyone got any reservations they want to share? I don't know. I put some down here. Like, where do you find properties? Because some people are like, you know, well, where do I find HMOs, or where do I find this particular type of Hyper HMO? Well, the whole system is built around, you can take a bog standard 3-bed property. The point of it is you can find them everywhere. It's not such a chore, right? And then, you know, does it cost loads of money? Do you have to dump a load of money into the thing? Well, finance is a whole separate thing, but the point of this is that you want to be able to reproduce it again and again. So the idea of when you do the development is that you can take all, if not a lot, if not all, and then some more, usually in the 2 I've done, out again. So yeah, if you execute right, ultimately it doesn't really cost you that much, but you know, you can partner with people. There's like so many options in this area now. And then the time factor, does it take extension work? Because some people don't really, you know, they've not done any extensions or development work, and they're like, oh, well, it's, you know, is it complicated? Is it really difficult? No, it's a joke these days. It's so easy. Right, you get your plan, you get your architects to do drawings, and you get them to do the building regs. So you don't have to worry about that. You're like, oh, do I need to know all this stuff? No, you don't. You just pay someone. It costs you like $1,000 or something to sort that out. And then the building work, you know, the longest I've had took 3 months, when really it should have taken a month. Because it's just a box. They just knock a box up, and you know, it's a standard process, right? It doesn't take long at all. The only one that recently took 3 months is because I went through 3 different builders before I realised I should probably be talking. I didn't know anyone in that particular time in that area, so. But even then, 3 months, and I still made, you know, what I made on it, which is good. And then there's the hassle. Like, some people think, oh, HMOs. I don't want to do HMOs. I've got all these extra tenants to deal with, you know. And like, okay, you do have extra tenants to deal with. That is true. But the point is, if you systemize it properly, then you don't have to worry about it. It's not an issue. You spend your time right at the beginning, i.e., you basically get good tenants in at the beginning. Spend your time then, and you don't have to worry about it. Like, I literally barely. I think I've got a WhatsApp group for each of my properties, which I'm still in on some of them. But like, you know, I never have to deal with any of that stuff. So you get like a VA if you're getting like loads, and just, you know, I want to have someone else to manage it. Get a VA to do that. Systemize the cash flow. Systemize the process of sourcing them and everything. So it's a piece of cake, right, with the system. No trouble. So when should you get involved? Now is a good time, right? You know, cost of borrowing is low. It's ridiculous. Like, if I wasn't getting into property now, you know, there's no better time. The sooner you start, the sooner you can make cash flow and get cash back. Interest rate relief also, you know, they're getting rid of it. So you need to start thinking about more cash flowing strategies. It's not so good just to bang people into single lets now, as it used to be. I mean, unless you're leaving a lot of money in the deal, you want to be cash flowing it as high as possible. And then with the HMOs model, Hyper HMOs model, you're owning the assets. So you want to be able to hold an asset as long as possible, right? With property is generally the same thing, right? You want to be able to hold it as long as possible, because that's where you make, ultimately that's where you make the major amount of your money. So, and this provides you with the way to, you do, you know, because you're cash flowing it as well, and you get cash back out of it. So the course itself is 997. It's a 1-day course in Doncaster. It's on a weekend because I'm really kind and I also work in technology during the day. There's limited places. I'm not sure how many's left now. Probably, I think there's like, what, 5 places left or something. So the dates are the 9th and the 13th at the moment. 9th of December and the 13th of January. So just to review, you're looking at optimizing your cash flow, getting cash back out on the deals, systemizing it all so you don't have to worry about it. You know, it's a no-brainer, right? You can rinse and repeat it. You can go as fast as you're able to get the sites developed. You know, 1 a month if you want, even more than a month if you JV with people. And you know, if you're looking to hold properties a long time, this is the way forward, right? Because you want a cash flow. If you want minimal hassle and want a cash flow, then this is the strategy for you, basically. So, I'm not done with the 997 thing. Bonus time. Yeah, everyone's got that bonus time, right? So, if you sign up today, then I'll do a 30-minute coaching call with you. My time is like ridiculous, so I was really reluctant to put that on there. But I'll do a 30-minute coaching call. We can cover whatever you want, basically. Wherever you need help, I can talk to you about it. We can even cover stuff outside of the property area that I'm interested in. Or if you just want to cry on the phone to me or something, I don't know. And then I'm also going to give away the deal analyzer, which is kind of key, right? This has been, it took me, how long is it? Well, actually, I sort of leveraged it because Ellie did it because she's way better than spreadsheets for me. So you get the deal analyzer, which is like, it just saves you so much time in terms of like appraising properties. And time, obviously, is the most valuable commodity of all. And also, if you sign up today only, then I'll source you a property-specific VA, and I'll tell you that is gold, yeah, because it took me 6 VAs, actually probably more than 6, but 6 VAs where I had them for any duration of time, who I sort of outsourced a lot of my stuff to and systemize everything to. I'll source you a VA so that you can just go, you know what, I don't want to deal with any of this admin from day one. You can pay them like, say, I'll get you part-time, whatever, and yeah, honestly, that is gold. So we'll source you a VA. So if that isn't enough reasons to flipping get yourself on there, then what's the course price today? So today's course price, because I'm completely bonkers, is $397, right? $397, and for the first 3 people that get an hour's coaching with me instead of 30 minutes, so get yourself over to the table at the back. If you're not, then you obviously don't need enough money. You've obviously got enough money, and I'll talk to you later. So thank you very much for your time.